Well, I had not originally planned on adding more episodes to the Amalgamation Podcast until it's fully ready to go. Sometimes the world requires us to make some responses. So here's a little preview of what I will be doing in the fall, is to offer some ideas about those of you who are preaching tomorrow. So here's the first one in response to the assassination attempt on former President Trump. Hey all, it is Saturday, July 13th. And if you, like me, have been glued to the news about the assassination attempt on former President Trump at one of his rallies, if you are a preacher, you have to get in the pulpit again tomorrow after a situation in the United States that I think requires some response to help people navigate this space. There have always been these moments, mostly tragic, where you need to get up and be able to offer words that, again, help people navigate this time. Not that you need to answer or you need to solve, but to just simply be a place where people can feel like they can bring who they are and what they're feeling and experiencing into that space. The pulpit in these moments is one of the most precious and privileged spaces we have. Now, I'm not in a church anymore and will not be for a while, but I do want to offer some ideas, some thoughts as you're contemplating shifting your sermons for tomorrow night. If you're listening to this and you happen to catch this before Sunday, then you are. So if I were preaching this Sunday, I would probably toss out the passages. I looked at the passages for the Sunday, and I did none of them. You don't want to just pick a passage and figure out a way that makes it fit, but I think it is one of those moments where you need to figure out what you would preach on in order to bring people understanding, comfort, calm, whatever you think your folks need. So I would bust out passages, 1 Corinthians, around the body of Christ, and when one suffers, we all suffer. I might look at Romans 12, around when your enemies may curse you, you bless them, and to overcome evil with goodness, to not repay evil acts with evil acts. And then maybe John passage where we are in the world, but not of the world. Because here's what the danger is. What if I were doing this tomorrow, I would be very clear that we are not in the business of spinning any situation so that it matches our current belief system, politically, ideologically, because that's what's already been happening. That our job is not to justify or to somehow delegitimize or something to this at this event, right? And this happening. And so I think it's really important to avoid rhetoric if you're in a progressive space, to avoid rhetoric around anyone deserving death. Again, we can disagree with people's actions and their belief systems without having to take away their humanity. And no human, don't care what you've done, what you believe, deserves death. And so any of that kind of rhetoric, I know it comes out of anger and rage, but that is not who we are supposed to be. The other thing, as I would say, is that we need to get away from any kind of ranking or deciding who is more deserving of attention and humanity than others. We are all impassioned about certain things. I've already seen rhetoric around, but the Palestinians and in Gaza, which I think is incredibly true. I don't want to get into this kind of ranking game between, you don't deserve value because you didn't say this, or you didn't deserve this, or that this needs more attention versus this. I think there's plenty of compassion, love, justice to go around. And when we buy into this zero-sum game of how we express compassion, justice, empathy, accountability, if we begin into that space and we buy into this idea that there is a limited amount of love and justice and compassion in the world, and I just don't believe it, that we can hold enough space for lifting up all of those things. Have we paid attention to everything in the same manner? Certainly not, but that doesn't mean that one necessarily should deserve more or less humanity than the other. And the thing I would really focus on, though, tomorrow is that violent rhetoric, when it escalates, what do we expect to happen when we use this? And this is across the board. Now, I will say, I think conservative folks tend to use it more, and there's been violence on their side that is much more, I would think, directed towards those who sit in a more progressive space, huge generalizations. But at the same time, I've seen everybody kind of ramp up. And when do we ramp up? Some people would say, well, if you take the high road, if you decide to play by the rules, or you decide to be to dignify people, then they're not going to reciprocate that. Well, my compassion and love isn't given in a transactional manner. And so some may seem that foolish, but I think that if I were to come back at somebody with the same level and tone and tactics that were emotionally, spiritually, politically violent, then this is what's going to happen. We've already seen it with Palestinians being attacked on the streets and in their homes and killed because of who they are. We've seen economic violence on people who just simply wear a Palestinian flag. We certainly have seen folks who have been anti-Semitic. They have been anti-Islamic. There's all the things that happen. And at some point, we have to see humanity in one another enough that we don't exacerbate that we don't accelerate, and that we don't escalate violence in our words and actions. Now, that is not weak. That is not a weak position. That is a position, I think, of strength and a revolution, because it goes against the way the world wants us to be. The world thrives on the economy of militarism and violence. And so the more we feed into that, the more that part of humanity wins. And I simply will not let that happen. So as you step into the pulpit tomorrow, I don't think you have to feel like you need to calm people, that you need to make people feel good or bad about any particular thing. But I do think it's important for us to use that space in a way that helps people see the larger scheme of humanity. And what about our current political situation benefits destruction and violence and evil? And how are we going to or not going to participate in that? Again, there is enough love and compassion to go around, and so we don't have to help evil and destruction win. Pray for you all tomorrow that are stepping into that pulpit. Let the Spirit move, love your people, be transformed by your own words. Peace.